have all our speakers. They've come in and we'd like them to settle down.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى أن رآه استغنى إن إلى ربك الرجعى أرأيت الذي ينهى عبدا إذا صلى أرأيت إن كان على الهدى أو أمر بالتقوى أرأيت إن كذب وتولى ألم يعلم بأن الله يرى كلا لئن لم ينته لنسفعا بالناصية ناصية كاذبة خاطئة فليدع ناديه سندع الزبانية كلا لا تطعه واسجد واقترب
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to welcome everybody to the book launch of volumes 13, 14, and 15 of the Personal Chronicle of Pakistan. This is a book launch by my father, Ikram Sehgal, and it's the companion volumes to the first 12 volumes that were launched earlier over the past number of years, and they serve as the companion piece. I'd like to welcome everybody, especially a distinguished panel, and obviously Homa Bakai, old friend of ours, who needs no introduction, will introduce the panel fully, but obviously it's our pleasure to welcome the distinguished guests, our family members. My mother's here, my sister, Nefer, my aunts, and it's gratifying, I think, for my father, who obviously we are very proud of, and that his grandchildren are here as well, who specially come, and I think it's very gratifying to see that. You know, obviously I can sit here and talk at length about the volumes, but I think they're not only personal reflections about the time my father has observed about Pakistan. Obviously there's political, social, economic, and historical events in there. But I think one must see what they are as well, and that's why I mentioned his grandchildren, because they're also a future guidepost, a map as to what Pakistan can become. Because I think for all what we do when we take, and there are plenty of shots we can take about Pakistan, there are plenty of avenues, we forget sometimes the raw talent that this country produces. And if we didn't need a reminder, we got it last night. Gold medal, Olympic gold medal, no less. First gold medal since 1984 that Pakistan has achieved. First gold medal Pakistan has ever achieved in athletics. And I think you can see the raw talent is over there. And I think you see, and again, apologies for being biased, I think you see a raw talent in my father as well. Here's a raw talent the country has produced. Very much a product of this country. No education outside this country. Very much a product born, bred completely in Pakistan. A product of this system, both from an education perspective, from a military perspective, from a business perspective, from an academic perspective, from a journalist perspective. So you can see, and that's reflected in his reflections, his articles, and his love for this country. So I leave you with that. I think when you see and you read these articles, you get a sense of not only the academic detail in those articles, but really the true love he has for this country. And I think that's what I leave you with, and that's what I hope we can all be left with. Thank you very much. I look forward to an engaging discussion, and Homa, I leave this in your hands. Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You know, I'm a bit overwhelmed today. Sarar is right. Sehgals have been great friends. The journey goes back to over 20 years. And talking about raw talent, I was probably identified as a raw talent by Ikram Sehgal. And he's mentored me through my journey, my growth trajectory. And in a small way, I've been a part of his academic journey also. He's been kind enough to make me a small part of all his book launches. And because of that, I've had the unique distinction of reading most of his work. And it has always left me with a sense of there is so much that we can do. There's so much potential in this country. And why are we where we are today? The volumes contain the compilation of writers' articles published in different newspapers over a period of 40 years. That's a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And while I was going through the last three, I also realized that he's painstakingly captured the talks and conversations that he's had with different people, which had tremendous deep insight into the issues that we deal with today, that somehow stare us in the face today. The news yesterday left all of us happy, but it was also an indication of the fact that how desperate we are for good news. Because the social media went literally crazy. We were desperate for something good to happen, and it did. And I hope it is the beginning of many more. One is perhaps the launch of these 3 books. You see, he's a very prolific writer, and not just that, he writes on a huge array of topics. They're all the stuff that you would expect from a Pakistani columnist on what's going on this week or this month. But while I was going through the books, and others, they're very good commentators, they will come on that too, there is an element of timelessness to what he writes. And the fact that he's chosen to dedicate the last 3 volumes also speaks of how this man can give credit, acknowledge people, and let others stand tall. And I think that's something very few of us have in us today. It's Pakistan series. It's Terms of Frustration, Its Dreams and the Reality, and of course the Kakar model. But before I move on, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very nice message from Prince Naihan, His Excellency. There's just one word that I am going to say about what he says about Ikram Sehgal. And that's in his preface to Terms of Frustration. He says Ikram Sehgal has a great story to tell, and he tells it in a very compelling fashion. That's Naihan Mubarak Al Naihan. We have a video message from him, which we will play now. Thank you.
Dear brothers Ikram Sehgal and Zarar Sehgal, sisters, brothers, and friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings and best wishes from your brothers and sisters in the United Arab Emirates. I regret that I am not able to be in Islamabad with you for this celebration of my brother Ikram's 3 new volumes in his impressive series, A Personal Chronicle of Pakistan. I am, however, with you in spirit, as I am very proud of my brother Ikram Sehgal. I have long admired his achievements and experience and valued his counsel and advice. Even more importantly, I have always admired him as a dedicated person of high moral standards and values. He has never strayed from the founding principles and values of his beloved Pakistan. As a talented and prolific writer, Ikram Sehgal has, in all his writings, communicated those values and principles with clarity and authority. He is always true to his nation's culture and heritage. He has encouraged others to understand the vital role of patriotism and love of country, as well as dedication to moral values and principles and the success and progress of Pakistan. On behalf of everyone assembled for this launch today, I thank you, Brother Ikram, for telling your remarkable story, thus intertwined with the story of Pakistan itself. In my opinion, the 3 volumes being launched today, in fact, the entire 15 volumes in your exceptional series, will inspire young Pakistanis and others in many countries for generations to come. This is a series written from the heart, reaching the hearts of its readers. You, my brother Ikram, have done an outstanding job in capturing the spirit of Pakistan, a spirit of commitment, cooperation, dedication, courage, and perseverance that has enabled Pakistanis to live and work together harmoniously for the well-being of their nation and its people. My dear brothers and sisters, these new volumes are filled with wisdom from a very wise author. The entire series is delight and instructs, putting on display the elegance of Ikram's writing as well as his important and active contributions to the history of Pakistan. Above all, we appreciate how Ikram's ideas and values are both relevant and meaningful to men and women everywhere. Ikram is not only a great writer, in my opinion, he is a great person who stands as a striking emblem of the intelligence, creativity, and productivity that characterize Pakistan's vitality and vigor. We are privileged to honor Ikram today. From where I stand here in the United Arab Emirates, I'm also immensely proud of the strong relations between Pakistan and the United Arab Emirates. We in the UAE deeply value our long-standing and deep-rooted brotherly relationships with the people of Pakistan, and we are keen to enhance them in the future. It is now my great pleasure to invite you to joining me in wishing my brother Ikram continued success, happiness, and good health. We will honor him as readers of the 15 volumes of this wonderful series. We will read his chronicles, learn from them, share them, and use them to spread awareness, enlightenment, and appreciation for Pakistan and its history and progress. We will use them to look forward to the future of Pakistan and its growing position in the world with great confidence and optimism. My best wishes to all of you and to all the people of the great country of Pakistan. May God's peace, compassion, and blessings be with you all. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Terms of Frustration is the 13th volume of a personal chronicle of Pakistan series. The book is divided into 7 sections and comprises of 96 articles in total. The foreword is written by the man you just heard. He's an Emirati royal and a politician and currently serves as the Minister of Tolerance of the United Arab Emirates. Ikram Sehgal has also dedicated the book to His Excellency. It is a work of both current and historical importance, offering readers an invaluable perspective on Pakistan's journey. The book covers the years 2021 and 2022 and is in some ways a personal history of Pakistan. Year 22 and 21 were interesting years. It was Corona epidemic that hit the world and resulted in several negative impacts on the global economy. The world's collective growth domestic product fell by 3.4%. Global supply lines were disrupted, jobs were lost, and the battle between lives and livelihood is on. Pakistan did fairly well on the corona front, but faltered on others. All of this is chronicled in this book. But we have some very prolific people, interesting people, people who have intellectual depth to come and speak on the books we are launching today. And I have the honor and pleasure of inviting Air Marshal Masood Akhtar Saab, a gifted airman, but also a scholar, to the stage.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The honorable panelists, Ikram Sehgal Saab, General Ali Guli Khattak, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Pleasure to speak on this book launching. I've been to all the first two also, but this is very, very unique because I have linked myself with the third one, which is the Kakar formula. And the first chapter actually relates to, in some way is connected with me. I have known Ikram Sehgal Saab since the year 2000, when I was Commandant Air War College. But intimate interaction came in 2002, when I was CI National Defense Course, and I was looking after the national security part. Myself and Kamal Aziz Saab, we did the war course together, and then I shifted later on to NDC. When we were groping in the dark as to how to process national security, and I'm being very honest about it, we did not know how to process national security. We didn't have a template with us. The first template came when General S.P. Shahid came back from America, and he brought a template by Ambassador Blackwell. And then I called over Ikram Sehgal Saab to help us. And he brought a book with us that he had researched, and he had gone deep into this subject for our sake and for Pakistan by looking at Brzezinski, by looking at the American national security policies, the rest of the world, and doing a lot of research and then coming back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to tell you that most of the ideas that Ikram Sehgal Saab left are taught even today in the NDU, of course, notwithstanding that not the entire credit may come to him. But recently I went to NDU and I talked to the president and I said, look, these are national security policy papers that you originate, that you finalize every year. 70 to 80% material was left behind by Ikram Sehgal Saab. Coming to what he has actually written in this volume, I'll read an extract and then build a little bit on this. In the preamble, he says, founded a little more than 50 years ago as one of the finest experiments in nationhood about Pakistan of the 20th century, Pakistan entered the 21st century a truncated version of its original creation. Uncertain about its future, its place under the sun, its identity, etc. Indeed, it lacked a coherent vision for the future, and omens and the symptoms we can see today of what he has indicated. Invisible disintegration of the national fabric has been so rapid that deterioration of our integrity is in advanced stage. More than any strategic or tactical design, it is a vagary of destiny, the dictation, the dictatorial mindness of a democratically elected prime minister that sought civilian coup, countered by the military, that was to stop the rapid slide down to an abyss. And then he goes on to talk about what all happened. And then he says, it would be about General Pervez Musharraf. Wonderful to say that General Pervez Musharraf's military regime took over and a magical wand created a paradise overnight. This would be a travesty of fact. What the military regime did was commendable, but in a relative manner, it slowed the momentum of disintegration, stopping the country momentarily from becoming extinct. Pakistan very much remains an endangered species, and we still do not have an inherent national security strategy. The credit is to Ikram Sehgal Saab that we are able to produce a national security policy document every year. This was worth about 70 pages, and he made a book and gave it to each one of us, the faculty and the students. Well, we read it, some of us didn't read it, but when this book came to me, I requested him to send me the PDF document, and that is with me. So I went detailed, I went into this document. It's available with me. With his permission, anybody who wishes, I can always put it in your inbox, on WhatsApp it to you. But his saying is ominous. Today, ladies and gentlemen, because we do not have a national security policy document except the first one that came from Dr. Mueed Yusuf under Imran Khan. But I happened to interact with Dr. Mueed Yusuf because somebody said he needs some help. So I said, Dr. Saab, two things you must give guidance for. One, how do we put all these mobs that are warring with each other, and that because of which Pakistan is relatively at war with itself? And number two, how do we reduce this insurgency to zero? No political party has these two solutions in their manifesto. I have raised this issue over and over again on all my groups on WhatsApp, and we people, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, federal secretaries, prime ministers, ministers, we seemingly don't have a solution what to do. And resultantly, what happens? Every second week, third week, every month, we are losing anything up to 10 plus wonderful jawans and lieutenants and junior officers. I think the army does a very good job. And if Azm-e-Istehkam is to come, I have said that on television. I think if it can come, I don't know whether it will be able to because public support is not there. If it is to come, ladies and gentlemen, these young officers and jawans will win Azm-e-Istehkam, but at a very big cost. Sanctuaries this side of the border, sanctuaries now that side of the border also. So we will pay a price, but probably because of what Ikram Sehgal Saab has said, that we do not have the correct national security direction. So we are going to pay a very heavy price. Number two, the three big institutions are absolutely on the collision course. What happens tomorrow, 1 week from now, 3 weeks from now, one cannot tell. And obviously things are not too good. Will Pakistan be able to find the holy grail of its national security? Ikram Sehgal Saab has played his part. He has given us the blueprints. He continues to work day in and day out on these subjects. Time will tell, but I think the Kakad formula at least put off what could have been worse than this, a martial law. What Musharraf did, it fended off a disaster for a little time period. But to say that we have secured ourselves, my humble suggestion is no. Will we be able to find this holy grail? I cannot really foresee. But Ikram Sehgal sir, thank you very much for your contribution. What you did for us at the NDU, I keep coming over and over again to pay this debt back to him, because Pervez Musharraf, when he made the president, and I'm using a very polite word, borrowed one of his ideas, and he presented this as his own. And Ikram Sehgal Saab came and he complained to me, and I said, sir, I am a small 2-star, I cannot do much about it. I've since forgotten what he said. He may like to dilate a little more on this. So that's the quality what Ikram Sehgal Saab produces. This is the good thing that he has done to NDU. 3 of his articles later on from the news were part of the national security folder that was taught to the officers at NDU. What bigger contribution? And I think we owe thanks to Ikram Sehgal Saab that he has done good to NDU, done good to me, done good to Pakistan. Wish him luck, and I think we will do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Air Marshal Masood Akhtar Saab. The comment was a sobering one, but it also has an element of hope in it. A country at war with itself and our politicians unable to give us a solution. The institutions of the country working at cross purpose with interinstitutional and intra-institutional conflict becoming a norm. We are normalizing that conflict in some ways. We're internalizing it. And all of us will probably pay the cost for it. Perfect time to invite a politician, a senator, a journalist, but also someone who has the courage to speak the truth. शायद हुसैन साहब खड़े हो गए, मैंने नाम भी नहीं लिया.
Thank you, Dr. Huma Bakai. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, my compliments to my dear friend, old friend, Ikram Sehgal Saab and his esteemed family. I think in our culture, despite difficulties and adversity, if you have strong families as a source of strength and resilience, I think that gives you enough courage to speak truth to power, which my friend Ikram Sehgal has been doing for the last 30 years at tremendous cost to him personally and perhaps also his business interests. It's a pleasure to be here, and seems that with the increase in volumes of Ikram Sehgal, his readership seems to be more widespread and popular beyond Pakistan's borders, because just before the book launch of the Kakar model has been duly implemented in Bangladesh a week before that, to the precision. And I think it was done as seamlessly in Bangladesh, in Dhaka, as it was done in Pakistan in 1993. And I think this is probably a decision which every upright, professional army chief finds difficult. And this is something, a moment which every prime minister or president dreads, when the army chief goes to the prime minister or the president and says, "Sir, Madam Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, your time is up. Please go home." And General Abdul Wahid Kakar did that with President Ghulam Isa Khan, with Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and with 8 other important office holders in 1993. 4 governors, 4 chief ministers. And I would say, having known, and I still do, General Kakar, probably one of the most respected army chiefs in the history of Pakistan. Squeaky clean, most non-controversial army chief, and the only army chief in the history of Pakistan to actually refuse an extension, which says a lot. So I think that when Ikram Sehgal dedicates this volume of the Kakar model to General Abdul Wahid Kakar, I think this is a well-deserved honor for one of the distinguished sons of the Pakistan Army. When we discuss issues, and earlier things have been mentioned, I think that when we look at the whole gamut of civil-military relations, since the Kakar model, we have had other models also developed. But those have been clumsily done. Soft coups have taken place, military coups have taken place, and the consequences have not been able to be controlled. And I think that the root causes are actually 3 different but separate elements, which I'd like to briefly dilate. And Ikram Sehgal mentions it in his book when he says that General Kakar, when he asked for en masse resignations of the top leadership, including the person who appointed him, President Ghulam Isa Khan, he was quite surprised that President Ghulam Isa Khan felt that General Kakar was his man, Mera Banda. I think that has been one major problem for every prime minister, the assumption that when you appoint an army chief, wo mera banda hai, and that person will do his bidding over and above the interests of the institution and the country. In 1977, when Mr. Bhutto had appointed General Ziaul Haq, superseding 6 generals. And there was this agitation of the PNA. His good friend, the sister of the Shah of Iran, Princess Ashraf Pahlavi came to Pakistan in May 1997. And she's written this in her book also. And she asked, since she was close to Mr. Bhutto, she said, Zulfi, what's the problem? It seems the mullahs are after you. But what about the military? He said, military? No, don't worry about that. He says, there was a banquet actually in the PM house. He said, that man sitting in the third table, the short, slightly dark, he is the new army chief I've specially picked up. His name is General Muhammad Ziaul-Haq, and he is in my pocket. He patted his pocket like that. That was the thing. Ghulam Ishaq Khan had the same misconception. Just before his retirement, General Kakar was an accidental chief because he had to be appointed at the sudden death of General Janjua. And Ghulam Ishaq also felt that he would be his man. Mian Nawaz Sharif had the same misconception about General Musharraf and later on General Bajwa. And I remember Ikram and I were guests of Mian Nawaz Sharif Saab in Murray. And the issues of appointment of army chief were coming. And Ikram, as the Prince of UAE has rightly said, His Royal Highness Prince Nahyan Mubarak Al Nahyan, that what Ikram writes is the spirit of Pakistan, and one of the elements of the spirit is that speaking truth to power. He said, Mian Saab, just follow the seniority principle. There are 3 nominees. Don't try to cherry pick. Don't think any of them, koi flana banda, mera banda hoga. Do it on the proper way. And the second advice, of course, he also gave about the President of Pakistan and who should be the most well-deserving. And he had named him, but I think Mr. Nawaz Sharif did not follow both of them to his discomfiture later on. And this obsession of Mera Banda continued. Imran Khan felt General Bajwa was his Banda. They all talked of what is extension. And the second problem in Pakistan is the army chief. If prime ministers have obsession about Mera Banda, my man, the army chiefs also have an obsession about the extension issue. That they are very keen, and the extension issue often is an issue which is destabilizing for the institution, for the political system, and for civil-military relations. And this happened in the past also, and this has happened recently also. And the third element, which is extremely important in seeing the civil-military divide, in my view, is the establishment of Pakistan, primarily the security establishment, having an obsession with what General Zia used to say, positive results. That elections should be tailored, organized, engineered in a manner that the political outcome should be one that is preferred by the rulers, the powers that be, the establishment. When the 8th February elections recently took place, the foreign journalists came to me, Western journalists. They said, what happened? We thought that the votes cast were in one direction and the results were different. I said, in Pakistan, we have followed the dictum of the great Stalin. Stalin used to say, it's not important who votes in the election. What is important is who counts the votes. And I think this dichotomy was witnessed on this election also. Ikram Sehgal's works, while being a critique of the process also, irrespective of who is in power, whether Khaki or Mufti, are also a primer for students, for scholars, on what goes wrong and how to reverse that wrong also. And I feel that in Pakistan, despite the difficulties, despite the doom and gloom, there is this sense in the people of Pakistan, or what was termed as the spirit of Pakistan, that they have the courage to speak up, the courage to resist what is wrong, and the courage to defy when the state pursues policies that are at variance with the interests of the people. We feel that in this current situation, despite the difficulties, I remain an optimist that in the region, Pakistan has strategic space and an opportunity to play a larger role once we are able to set our own house in order through the respect for the rule of law, respect for the popular mandate, and through reversing wrongs such as the violations of human rights. And what has happened in Bangladesh, and I am sure for Ikram this would be a very moving story, because he is a product, he is a genuine, authentic, made in Pakistan product with roots in both what were then East and West Pakistan. And he understands the ethos of the people. And I think that is an inspirational story. And we hope that we can learn some lessons from the latest Bangladesh model, which shows that a time comes when people stand up and wrongs are reversed through popular might. And that proves that might is not right, but right is might. I wish Ikram Sehgal all the best. More power to your pen, sir. And we look forward to we have known him for the last 2 centuries. We were friends in the 20th century. We are buddies in the 21st century. And we hope to continue this long journey, intellectual and personal and professional together, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh. Until the gold in the Olympics happened, all we were talking about was Bangladesh. But what happened in Bangladesh is a sobering experience, or is a sobering moment for many in South Asia. Because Sheikh Hasina was in power for 15 years, had the military on her side, had the bureaucracy on her side, had the media on her side, and also had a very powerful neighbor on her side. And what happened on the ground was not led by politicians. It was led by the youth. And they continue to dictate the terms of what is going to happen in Bangladesh, including who's going to be the head of the interim government, Muhammad Yunus. And the biggest trouble that we all saw happening in all of this was that Bangladesh also has a history of military coups. It happened twice, and several aborted attempts have happened, several soft coups have happened. We all thought that is Bangladesh once again moving from a civilian dictatorship in some ways to a military takeover. The students there are trying to ensure that that does not happen. And that is what is the 21st century is all about, where the power of information, the proliferation of information turns tables on many who thought nothing can touch them. Ladies and gentlemen, the book Kakar Model is the 15th volume of Personal Chronicles of Pakistan series. The volume of the book is divided into 3 sections comprising of 27 different chapters. The foreword is written by Lieutenant General retired Ali Quli Khan Khattak. The man here is himself to elaborate on it further. Sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished all of you as you are, I don't have a long speech. This is a message which General Waheed has sent, so I'm going to read it word by word, and it's just a page or so. And then, of course, I'll take the opportunity to talk about other issues. This message from General Waheed says, Dear Ikram, let me at the outside apologize for not being present in person at this important event because of health reasons. I am taking the liberty of sending this message to be read out by Lieutenant General Ali, that's me, to express my feelings. I want to thank you personally for dedicating Volume 15, the Cochrane Model, to me. While I feel humbled at the recognition, I was only doing my duty as a soldier and as a patriotic citizen of Pakistan. As COS Pakistan Army in 1993, I had to act when the political structure was collapsing and becoming an existential danger to the country. In the larger interest of the country, I had no option but to take over. And yet the army did not actually take over, but acted strictly in accordance with the Constitution. The Speaker of the Senate replaced the President who resigned. A caretaker PM replaced the PM who had also resigned. And the man that was chosen, he was agreed upon by both the President, outgoing and outgoing Prime Minister. This is my addition into it. While remaining generally neutral, the President and caretaker proceeded to then conduct free and fair elections. Not one single military person interfered in any way in the elections. Sometimes military interventions are necessary in the life of the nation, but only for a short time and only to keep the country from deviating from its given destiny. The military should avoid getting involved in governance for even the shortest period. Ikram, you are a brave and outstanding soldier, a great loss to the army. You continued the remarkable brilliance in the civilian life in diverse fields. You have done wonderful work for this nation, and I am personally proud of you as one of the most upright and patriotic Pakistanis that I have met. Your stance has always been honest and morally correct, as well as reflected in your articles and media interviews. Your work is a must-read not only for the intelligentsia, but for those appearing in competitive exams both in civilian and military life. While thanking you for the dedicating the 15th volume of A Personal Chronicle for Pakistan to me, I wish you very best for the event and for the future, with my salams to the assembled audience. This was, ladies and gentlemen, General Waheed. I would just like to add a few things, a little on the personal side, because I got to know General Waheed when he was promoted a Major General and I was promoted as a Brigadier, and we landed up in Sakhar. And that was the first time I actually met him face to face, although one had, pardon me, known each other because he came from a very distinguished family of KPK. He was Sardar Abdul Nishtar's nephew. He probably knew about me, but this was the first time that we met. And of course, we had a very interesting time, both in Sindh, hunting dacoits, and later on, I had also the privilege to work very closely for him. And it really was an absolute wonder to work for a person like him. There are not many people who appear in the world what General Waheed is or was. At the time when General Wahid's time was finishing, Benazir Bhutto as the Prime Minister, Farooq Laghari as the President of Pakistan, the whole diplomatic corps, most of all the Americans, begged him to take an extension. But his answer was pure and simple. He said, there are many more like me from where I come, and no. And that is probably his greatest point and his greatest service to this country. He is very clear. And in that portion, of course, I now have to, pardon me, come to some personal issues about Ikram. Ikram is a person whom I discovered in my life. Of course, we came from opposite schools. I am an HSOian, Ikram, of course, was a strong Gallian. And we got together when we went into the Army aviation. And that's where when we got together. And this was around 69 or onwards, and things were happening in what was East Pakistan. And I remember he was, of course, talking hurt, like any Pakistani would be with the happening that were going on at that time, and very disturbed. And I remember in one of his conversations with me, he said, it's the time to do a surgical operation. I'm not going to delve in detail about the East Pakistan or the Bangladesh issue, but it's ironic that the saying that what goes around comes around. And after so many years, when Bangladesh was formed, a picture seeing Hasina Wajid signing, and we had this awful picture of General Aurora making General Niazi sign, which the Indians and the Bangladeshis had pasted everywhere. That picture is now being put side by side with one in which it's being signed by Hasina Wajid that she's resigning. And there are three flags visible. There is a Bangladesh flag, and there is a Pakistani flag, believe it or not, that is visible. And that will give me some sort of pleasure, not pleasure, but at least it will take some of my shame away when I look at the picture of Aurora making General Niazi sign. And of course, a similar thing, as I said, one of the things that Ikram taught me all along was, he is much younger than me, but he's a very wise person. And that was his knowledge about what was East Pakistan. It's understandable because, as I said, very well mentioned by Mushahid, that he represented both sides and he knew them very well. So we would talk, and of course he was being hurt, just as all Pakistanis were hurt about what happened in 71. But he must have felt most of all. And in that, unfortunately, there were some very unfair and cruel things said about him, which were totally false and totally not to be believed in. But when I saw this picture, I asked Ikram what he thought. And Ikram, I hope I've got it right, Ikram said, 2 countries, 1 nation. Have I got it right? 2 countries, 1 nation. And when you really, I don't know what is going to happen in what is Bangladesh now, but it does seem that there is a lot that is happening. And God knows which way it goes, but he has the insight to make this one statement, which I think embodies everything. It's been my pleasure to know Ikram, as I told you, for a long time, and it's been a pleasure always. He initially used to call me that he is my wingman, but with time going on, I'm now as his old wingman because he's the one who guides me in most of things in my life. I wish Ikram the very best, and inshallah, we will have happier days to look forward to. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, General Sahab. And now we come to dreams and the reality. This one is really close to my heart for two reasons. One, because I had the honor and pleasure of meeting Mr. Sartaj Aziz, not on my land, but in New Delhi. And two, because he was a vice chancellor of a university, Beacon House University, and I am a vice chancellor now. So that connect is amazing for me. But more importantly, when I met Sartaj Aziz Saab, we were both representing Pakistan in New Delhi. I was representing Karachi Council for Foreign Relations, of which Ikram Sehgal has been a very critical part. In fact, he's the force behind it right now, and it is grown by leaps and bounds under his mentorship. So I made a presentation in New Delhi. And I was a young lecturer at Karachi University back then. And this man, whose stature we are all aware of, actually walked over to me and he said, "Ladki, tum kahan hoti ho?" And I said, "Gee, I'm in Karachi and I'm a lecturer, I teach." He just said one word to me and walked away. But that has stayed with me. And he said, "Start writing." And that's what I did. I started writing. So I think he left an impact of many people's lives. And Mr. Ikram Sehgal has dedicated this book to his memory. The foreword is by Sania Nashtar. And to speak about it, we have a man who knows him well. They were both of the same party. And today, he's trying to build another party. Khaka Nabasi Saab.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ikram Sehgal Saab, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I cannot claim to have read all of your books, but I've been reading your articles as they came over the last more than 30 years. And when I looked at the book before I came here, the sad part was that it seemed as if I was reading about today. Your books, we have actually made your books timeless. It's the same story, it's the same events, and it seems that we have learned nothing from history. It's really a very sad reflection on where we stand today. And we always look for people to blame. The reality is that we have nobody to blame but ourselves. There are no heroes here. We had people like Sartaj Aziz. The book is dedicated to him. I had the privilege of knowing him for many, many years as a very young member of parliament till I became Prime Minister. And Pakistan has produced few people like him. A man who understood history, a man who worked hard, a man who had values, who had courage, and who could speak the truth. He has also written a book. And there are many Pakistanis who have written books. There are generals, there are bureaucrats, there are politicians. And I think only 3 books have impressed me because they spoke the facts. They talked about the facts. They were not about praise for the author himself or his contemporaries, who in the books are all perfect people. So the question always is, what went wrong? What went wrong in Pakistan? Why are we where we are today? So Sartaj Sahab wrote a very objective book. He stated the facts as they were. I was witness to many of them. And he lived really a very wonderful, productive life, even to the last minute. I met him a few weeks before he passed away. He knew all the events. He remembered everything. And we talked about many things that we had observed together or been part of together, including the amendment that brought FATA into the national ambit. that's a story in itself, but I can tell you that that would not have happened if Sartaj Aziz had not written the report on how that amalgamation should take place. Because when we started the process, with a lot of pressure, people came and they said, oh, we really want this, and the military also said we want this, and the FATA people also said, you know, why are you not doing this? But when the time came to do it, they all started backtracking. And they all had questions. And all I had to do was call Sartaj Sahab, and I posed the question to him, you know, this is the question being asked. And he said, okay, go to page 36 and read paragraph 4. And the answer was there. This from a person who was over 90 years old. We have had people who have contributed to this country, but there have been very few. That's the sad part. Public service, whether you're a general or a bureaucrat or a politician, at the end of the day, it's about public service. It's about contribution. How many of us have contributed? That is the real question. I can say Ikram Sehgal has contributed. This compendium of books is a contribution. We can go back someday and look at them and see what happened in Pakistan. But it's really a very repetitive story. I'm from the generation which transitioned from Ikram Sahab, the General Ali Kuli's generation. And we've seen these events repeat themselves over and over again. So, Air Marshal Sahab, Masood Sahab talked about the Holy Grail. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Holy Grail is here. It's called the Constitution. Please read it. Please abide by it. People ask me, what is the problem with the country? I said, it's very simple. Read the Constitution. It's one of the few constitutions in the world with the oaths also are part of the Constitution. The oath that the politicians take, that the bureaucrats take, that the judges take, that the military officers take. The problem is, all of them violate that oath every day. That is the problem. We happily rig elections. And we happily accept that rigging. Very graciously we accept that rigging. I've been part of every election since 1985. Except the 85 election, they've all been rigged to some extent or the other. Or the events that led to the election were also unconstitutional or undemocratic. I had the sad privilege of being a 32-year-old member of parliament whom the president of the country passed a paper and said, sign this, my resignation from the parliament. So when we look back at history, it's a very sad history. As I said, there are really no people that I can look up to in politics or in the period that I spent in government or in the power corridors of this country, except people like Sartaj Aziz, who actually contributed. So these are difficult times, but you will find the solutions in adherence to the Constitution. There is no other way. If the people make a mistake at the post, let them make a mistake, let them suffer. Because when you do not honor the mandate, the nightmare that you will create is a much bigger problem. That is what we need to do today. We need a national consensus today. We need to reconcile ourselves. Pakistan needs to know the truth. We need a truth commission. We are at war with ourselves. We don't even need reconciliation. Just let the people know what the truth is. The truth is not what you read in the papers. The truth is not what you see on TV. It's very different. You get to know the truth many, many years later. Who did what, to whom, and why. And these are very sad. These are all very small, petty issues that result in where we are today. Small, petty, personal issues. That's our problem. We do not have people who can rise up and say what is right. Have the courage to speak the truth. So today, if you look at Bangladesh, Bangladesh had a fallback situation. Pakistan today does not have a fallback situation. It's a very difficult time for Pakistan. So I think one gets kind of carried away with this thing, but people, wherever you go, people want to know what's going on. People are losing hope. It's a few people, it's not 200 people, it's 6, 8 or 10 people who need to sit together and chart the way forward for this country. History will not forgive them. And these are all because of small, petty interests that they're unable to sit together. Let me come back to Ikram Sehgal Sahab. We know each other well, but we really don't know each other. We spend very little time together. He's always invited me. Unfortunately, we've not been able to spend time together, but I know him very well. What year was that? There was 18. Yeah. In 18, he invited me to his annual event, which is the breakfast at Davos. And it was quite an event. He invited everybody. It was very early in the morning on a very, very cold day. And it was a wonderful event, I would say. I really enjoyed that event. I learned a lot. I had an uncle in the military who was a very abrasive man and somewhat controversial also, reasonably controversial. And he, as we grew up, he told us stories about what happened or what did not happen. And this is from what Mushahid Sahab said about seniority being the only factor. So, Brother Mahmood Sahab will know him. So, he said he was a young officer and they were sitting in the bar having a beer when they were called out and told them there's war going to happen tomorrow, you report to the units. And he said, he went to the front and the other person went to the CMH. Many years later, my uncle retired as a brigadier, the other person became a 4-star general. So, I would rest your seniority, really. And I know my Ikram Sahab through my uncle. And I was reading a book the other day and it talked about Maulana Rumi. And Maulana Rumi said something to this effect. And it's probably on it's an epitaph on his grave also. He said, when we are dead, find not us in the earth. So, look not for our tomb in the earth. When we are dead, look not for our tomb in the earth. Find it in the hearts of men. That's legacy. I've met politicians, generals, judges who said, I'm creating a legacy. You do not create legacies. This country is what people try to create legacies. So, Ikram Sehgal has a legacy. I asked my uncle about him. And all he said was, he is a brave man. They served together. So that's Ikram Sehgal. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू खाका अब्बासी साहब. इकराम सहगल साहब को अभी बुलाना है, लेकिन कहना ये है कि जी सरताज अजीज़ साहब के लिए एक किताब लिखी गई, अ लिविंग लेजेंड. आई विल जस्ट नाउ इनवाइट अ लिविंग लेजेंड, द ऑथर हिमसेल्फ, टू दिस स्टेज. इकराम सहगल साहब तकरीबन 15,000 लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट देते हैं, मेरा ख्याल है अक्रॉस द कंट्री. नंबर सही है इकराम सहगल साहब? समथिंग अभी मैंने ज़रार से पूछा, सो समथिंग ओवर 15,000 पीपल. लेकिन बहुत लोग एम्प्लॉयमेंट देते हैं. लेकिन मुझे ये पता है कि जिस तरह इकराम सहगल साहब अपने लोगों का ख्याल रखते हैं, अगर ये रियासत अपने लोगों का ख्याल रखने लगे तो सूरत हाल बहुत तब्दील हो जाए. लेडीज़ एंड जेंटलमैन, द ऑथर हिमसेल्फ.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you. Before I come and thank the panelists all along, I would first of all like to acknowledge the oldest man in this room, Brigadier Mahmood, my commanding officer. Sir, thank you for being here. One of the most upright people that I've ever known in my life. One of the most upright people I've known. Candid, always to speak the truth, and actually showed us the way of how to stand up for the truth. And he still stands up for the truth at this age. And his writings are also very candid, and I wish more people would read about them. Let me start with the first one, in terms of frustration and Sheikh Nayan. I came to know Sheikh Nayan when I was made a member of the board of directors of Habib Credit Enterprise Bank, which was actually Bank Al-Falah, and there were 3 branches. And Sheikh Nayan had bought the majority shares in that. At that time, he had shares, but no majority shares. I was appointed by the government to represent, at that time, the PNN government, to represent the government. And 2 of us to represent the 26% the government had. But in time, when I first met Sheikh Nayan, the first meeting he asked me, what do you know about banking? I said nothing, because I did not. I came out of the army thinking LC, letter of credit, was a girl. That was my knowledge about banking. But he said, okay, learn. So it took me about a couple of years to understand banking transactions, banking terms, etc., etc. And then he started giving me more and more things to shoulder, including actually opening up Bank Al-Falah in Bangladesh. And, I opened up, the branches, expanded the branches. Not many people know that. And I'm very sorry to say that recently they've sold out in Bangladesh. But I think they just gave up on the feeling, because Al-Falah happens to be a Pakistani bank. It was not well received there. Then, of course, Sartaji Saab, what can I say? I mean, Shahid has told about it all, what a great man he was. I don't think there's a sharper mind than his that I saw. He knew what he was talking about, whether it was water security, whether it was foreign affairs, whether it was food security. In fact, frankly speaking, Food and Agriculture Organization follows till today his policy that he has. A person wrote out in Rome at that time. When he went from here, from the civil service, he opted to go to FAO. And let me tell you that 2 weeks before he died, went to see him, and he actually dictated to me his dedication. He said, take Dr. Sania Nishtar's dedication to me from Abid Suderi's book. I, of course, by mistake made it Abid Zubairi. But, and he was very precise of what the happening, etc. And, and it was like Shah Khan has said, that it was a wonder to see this man And he said, Ikram, I may not see you again. And this is a man, he said, I've got my lungs filling up. And you marveled at the courage of this man, and yet his mind was sharp, like anything. He was truly a great, great human being, and a great loss to this country. You know, Mushahid has talked about it. You know, we kept on telling at that time, yes, I said, make him president, make him president. He would have been the ideal president for the thing. Mia Saab chose otherwise. And then, of course, we come to General Kakar, and what can I say? You know, superb human being. Mushahid has talked about, you know, the president, the prime minister, the governors, the chief minister going home. He's not mentioned, he sent 2 DGISIs home also. Right? Because, and they were serving officers. Right? He sent them home because he said, I will not like you indulging in politics. And talking about the extension, you know, one of the wonderful human beings that I came to much later in life is a victim of that extension, Lieutenant General Humayun Aziz. If Bajwa had not taken the extension, he would have been Chief of Army Staff. But thank you, Humayun, for being here. I really appreciate it. But, you know, you can go on and on about life and talk about this thing. I'm very grateful to start with my wife Shanaz and her sisters being here. Of course, my son, but above all, my grandchildren. And all Amani to start with, and then of course Elena and Suleiman. And what greater legacy can you leave than having such wonderful grandchildren, each one absolute character and soul on his own right, absolute in her own right, whatever, and absolutely, you know, and people were asking me, what were you doing, Sakshing? I wish some of you can come up to our brunch, which I invited all of you to on Sunday, and see that to Amani Bagh, which I've named after my first granddaughter, and then of course Elena Heights, which I named my second daughter, and of course Suleiman Lodge has come up, and Suleiman Base that he named himself near Changla Gali is also coming up. Then I'd like to thank my speakers one by one, starting with Air Marshal Masood Akhtar. What can I say? Masood, I'm really grateful to you. You know, we work together, and you know, it's only when, which you've been very kind to Mohit Yusuf, when you copy-pasted most of my national security strategy of 2002 and gave it as his own this thing. And of course, we were initially, I was in that team, and then suddenly I stopped getting invited to his meetings. But then I realized that the thing is only when the national security policy came out, I saw. And therefore, Air Marshal Masood, you will be happy to know that I am now going to spend the rest of my days, of whatever life I have left, writing out the national security strategy for of Pakistan. I've updated it. I've updated the 72 pages. It has become now 108 pages to give a concept. And then I've talked about the preamble, whatever is happening, and then not stop there, then set the challenges and how to deal with the challenges. And that challenges are many, whether it's food security, water security, whether it's you know, getting rid of institutions that are like then taxation, how to simplify taxation, how to rationalize the armed forces to meet the modern warfare. I think we should learn both from what has happened in the Gulf War, and Gulf War was overtaken what is happening in the Middle East now. There's a total different concept of warfare. The drones, etc. Iran absolutely set a new this thing. We should learn from this. We cannot still stay bogged down in our complete, you know, ideas that we can stay static and still go on. And then what is happening in the education field? And of course, I'm I'm so happy to see, a lot of galleons here. And I'm proud of you like that. And I remember always, we always have the slogan, never give in. See, when I escaped from the camp, prisoner of war camp, I had that, never give in, right? And so today I'm proud that you are here, and thank Brigadier Mujahid Alam for bringing them here, all the prefects and the high achievers, all the way from Ghoda Gali. And I learnt in Ghoda Gali. Whatever I learned a lot in Ghoda Gali. Because when there used to be lightning and rain, we used to go on a paper chase. So lightning and rain didn't affect us. That was the concept at that time, right? But anyway, I would say that, what the main thing I learned in Ghoda Gali was to set the cause above renown, to love the game beyond the prize, to honor while you strike him down, the foe that comes with fearless eyes. So these things I learned, among other things that I learned in Ghoda Gali. Then I turn to General Ali Kuli. What can I say? My sister Nilofar is sitting here, and I can only say that they've been the closest friends that I've had for many years. My sister's death also became even closer. And General Ali Kuli has been very tolerant of me, because I keep on giving him advice, which I think he does not really need from time to time. But I think then a good friend is only that gives the correct perspective. And I'm so grateful to you, Nilofer, and to Ali for being such good friends of mine and good friends of our family all along. And, to have me on part of your business, this thing as director, right, of your industries, of your businesses. And it's a great honor. And of course, it's been a great honor to serve with you in aviation. And, even though, and the thing. But let me tell you one thing about General Ali Kuli, which most of you do not know. Because there has been something said about the signing of the surrender. General Niazi surrendered to Manekshaw at 9 o'clock in the morning. General Ali Kuli and the entire aviation flew out from East Pakistan at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They did not surrender. They were 1 mile away from the Indian Army main force, inside the Dhaka cantonment. They took all the helicopters except one that was left behind. And they brought all the nurses out with them, our nurses. They brought the entire aviation contingent. They flew out towards, first of all, they flew out towards Agartala, then went south into Burma, right, circled over, and then, of course, threw their weapons into the sea and then landed in Burma. But he did not surrender. And General Ali Kuli's father was a very good friend of General Sam Manekshaw. And Manekshaw sent him a message that I have your son in the jug. And General Habibullah sent back a message, you will never have any son of mine in the jug. And he did not surrender. So that was a great thing. Not many people know these things. And of course, I had a vested interest when I was speaking to Nawaz Sharif about this thing, Mushahid, myself, and Sartaj Saab, 3 of us. And we kept on telling him, go according to the seniority. Go according to seniority. See, professionally, when you reach the rank of Lieutenant General, all are competent, without fail. Without fail, all are competent. So don't pick and choose at that, right? Unless there is something very drastically wrong with that thing, do not pick and choose. So that is General Ali Kuli for you, and I'm very proud of our relationship all along. Then, of course, Mushahid, what can I say, Mushahid? We've done a long journey together. And Mushahid and myself, Mushahid will walk in and we would eat dal together from the langar, from our langar. And we would enjoy the dal and we would discuss things, and a lot of things. And unfortunately, it did not work out. I thought, and I did propose at that time many times to that thing, I said, You're not, you're doing a tremendous job as the information secretary. You need Mushahid as your foreign minister. You need Mushahid as your foreign minister. Mushahid knows, and his grasp of facts is so clear. You will not be, small things in details he knows. And, like a good soldier, he can think on his feet, right? So, which is very necessary for a foreign minister, right? So, he didn't have to read out from a script or the thing, read out. He could, like he's done today, he could speak out without having to read out from a script. And, of course, one of the most honorable people I know, and of course, it's a great honor in this everything. Shahid, your relationship, like you said, goes back to your uncle. You did not name him. Brigadier Taj was one of the most bravest officers that I ever come across. He was decorated in both the wars, and he would have got a third Star-e-Jurat. And let me tell you, really, Mahmood was here. He's here. He was there also in Chor Desert. For some time, our brigade commander disappeared for 2-3 days. We didn't know where he was. De facto, literally, Brigadier Taj had taken over the brigade. We were the 44 Punjab, which was our battalion, which became Force in 45 Punjab, and this thing, etc. And he said one thing very clearly to us. He said, "There's no going back. We will die here." And Shahid, how proud you must be. You're an illustrious father, and you're an industrious uncle. And I tell you that, I've served under very good commanding officer, Brigadier Mahmood, and of course I have Brigadier Zair Hussein's son here, General Shakil, also working with me now. And he was all of 8 years old when I first knew him, and his father was my company commander first, and then my commanding officer. I was their children. And of course, Brigadier Taj, right? Very good commanding officers. And I was very lucky that way. So, Shahid, Shahid came along and I told him, I said, "Shahid, you're in the wrong political party." Ultimately, I think I've been proven right. Right. So, the point is, I did say that in the speech of the last book launch, actually. Right. And I called Shahid at that time, I called him Prime Minister Shahid Khan Abbasi. And I say it again today. Former Prime Minister and future Prime Minister of Pakistan. You do not come across many people having such values. He just stayed the course because of loyalty. The loyalties that are ingrained because of his family history. He stayed the course with loyalty. So he disagreed with a lot of things. He stayed the course with loyalty. Ultimately, circumstances overcome that loyalty. But Shahid, we look forward, whatever future brings for you, but I am sure that you will bring that honesty and integrity to politics that is very much required in this country. I will thank other people in this room, excellencies who have come here. I would also like to IG Rai Tahir. One of the people, and I've known him since he was an SP, one of the people I really looked up to for immediate reaction was Rai Tahir. And today he is head of NACTA, the most toughest job I think in this world. And what he knows today actually is that thing. Obviously we cannot discuss it in public, but whenever I want to know something that I need to know, which is of crucial I turn to his advice. He's got a very correct perspective. So more power to you. I would like to also thank General Kamal from Bangladesh. General Kamal could have been Chief of Army Staff if he had more pro-Indian views, but he didn't, unfortunately, at that time. So he retired as a general, right? And he was in the United Nations, and he's going to retire and he's in the toughest jobs in the world in Afghanistan, at the United Nations. He's going to retire next month, I think, in September. And other people who are here, I find Asif Yasin Malik, and of course Javed Alam, and people, you know, all over, which I've had my sisters-in-law here. I think in the crowd I can see a lot of faces. I would like to name of them. I would not like to forget my course mates who are here: Ahsan, Salim, Ishaq, you know, Sardar. You're sitting right, Hassan Sardar. You're sitting right there. Right? But you know, it's good to see your course mates with you at this time. I'd also like to mention, when I was dismissed from the army, I did not have money to go home. I did not have money to go home. And, you know, the canteen contractor of Force In came to me. I was in the middle of Balochistan. We were actually fighting Baloch at that time. And instead of fighting Baloch, I find I was dismissed. So, and that's a story by itself, because I stood first in the captain to major promotion exam, stood first in the staff to entrance exam, and my CEO told me, "You're a bloody fool. You're going to be thrown out of the army soon." And General Brigadier Taj was right, because merit is a disqualifier. So the thing that I thought was that 600 rupees to go home, right? So I brought that man today. I requested him. He's not well. Hayat Khan, is he here? Hayat Khan? Khade ho ja, sahab. He gave me 600 rupees. His 600 rupees in 1974 carried me here. Thank you, Har. And I asked him at that time, he says, "How am I going to return you the 600 rupees? He said, "Sir, you will earn enough. You will return it to me." So that thing, and I am proud that his son also works with me today. Mohsin is here? Mohsin bhi hai. So his son works with me today. And like this, I'm very lucky to have a lot of children of ex-servicemen of mine working with me. And it's proud to that thing. And children. And I would also like to mention here somebody who's not here, but who was laboriously writing a long note for me, Lieutenant General Rasib Khan, one of the finest soldiers I've known, one of the bravest soldiers I've known. I've again wounded twice in 2 wars, Tara Jurat, Corps Commander, and one of the few people who gave advice to General Wahid Kakar not to take an extension. He and General Ali Kuli said, "Don't take an extension." So they have Rasib Khan now is Jajja Cadet College. I'm proud to say that 25 of the children of my guards study full scholarship in Jajja College. And we have been doing this for the last 10 years now. And, you know, as people go, I think we have more than about almost 100 children who have gone through our coaching. And one of them, in fact, came on TED talk, and he mentioned he was, you know, been by Harvard University. He was considered Harvard University. Son of a guard. That is the talent you have. And like this, the talent that I have, and I would like to mention my people from my company, very loyal, very hardworking, and totally dedicated. And, you know, I say, what is your blessing? That is my blessing. To have such people working with you, whether it's in security services, or whether it's in IT services. And, you know, in IT services, many people do not know, but I think Brigadier Ahmed Shahzad is sitting here from PTA. He will tell you that we are changing the destiny of the poor man with one of our products, in which he, of course, was the thing, and Mr. Sargana is sitting here with me, the thing, etc. from PTA. And they were so, that thing, positive for us, both the State Bank of Pakistan and both the PTA. And they said, this is the thing, this is the product, this is the product. 80% of the adult population of Pakistan does not have bank accounts. So we created that platform with their help, with their support. And today, we are recognized by the World Economic Forum as the most innovative platform in the world for helping financial inclusion and women empowerment. Luckily, the government does not know much about us. Otherwise, even that would go up. And as once, when at Davos, Shahid was asked a question, when people got up and said, "ये इकराम सहगल इतना करता है, इतने पैसे खर्च करता है, Davos में लोगों को ले आता है, ये वो, government कुछ नहीं करती है." His answer was very good. His answer was, "ये भी खत्म हो जाएगा, because government." So, thank you. I want to again turn to my son and thank you, Zarar. You always, it's always a blessing to have a wonderful son like Zarar. One is always proud of one son, but I'm more proud than most, right? And he's now the chairman of the company. I didn't want him to end up like Prince of Wales, waiting for his mother to die. So I said, please become the chairman of the company. I just own nominal shares in the company. I almost own no land because everything is distributed among my children, among my other friends, in the sense of people, that thing, etc. Because in the end, what do you take away with you? I would like to say this, that in the end, you take away, what was quoted earlier of Rumi. That was the right thing, that you live on in the hearts of men. And if you can live on the hearts of men, you are going to live on forever. And I may have missed out some people, and I please apologize for that, but I didn't want to that thing, etc. But we've done a lot of good work, and we've done a lot of good work all over. And I would like to end with two quotes, and which then I'm going to paraphrase them, those two quotes. And the first quote is from Shakespeare, Mark Antony's speech, "The good that men do is oft interred with their bones. The evil lives after them." That was Mark Antony at his funeral oration for Julius Caesar. The good that men do is oft interred with their bones. The evil lives after them. And the other one was General MacArthur, his favorite address to Congress, when he was sacked by President Truman, and he said, old soldiers never die. They simply fade away. So I would like to end with paraphrasing both of them together and said, old soldiers who do not die, they should learn when to fade away. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I think, should we do, Chan, do you want to do questions, or are we, does anybody have questions? Otherwise, I think we have tea and refreshments and food after this. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Please, if we can give everybody, the panel, a round of applause. Thank you very much. We can join everybody outside. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.